this is going to be a really easy segment for me because all I basically do is get to look at you, Robert, and say, so what's the first way that someone can really wreck their retirement?
And I'll just look right back at you and then look at my laptop for the answer. And the first one is basing your decisions on things that don't matter. And a lot of people anchor their retirement planning decisions, whether it's how much to save or when to retire, on things that really aren't relevant to whether they should be doing that. So for example, people will contribute enough to their 401k to take full advantage of the match. Whether or not that means they're saving enough or not, that's what they start on. Or they max out the IRA, which the max for this year, it's $5,500. The max.
I like that.
Unless you're 50 or older, it's $6,500. And they, well, if I've maxed out my IRA, I must be saving enough. But that's not necessarily true. We also see people retiring just because they're eligible for Social Security at 62, whether or not they've actually saved enough. Or you will also see one spouse retiring when the first spouse does. And that may not be the best thing to do for both spouses retiring at that point, but because one of the spouses retired, the other one just said, well, I should be able to retire too. What you should be doing is doing an actual analysis of your entire situation and determining, am I saving enough? And when you get to your 60s, do I actually have enough to retire?
Absolutely, absolutely. So everybody's their own unique snowflake, right? And I'm happy you use the word anchoring because that's absolutely what people do. And a funny story I have behind this is in my previous life, before I joined the Fool, I was actually the 401k guy. So I was the guy at people's work to say, okay, well, come get your free lunch, and here's a guy talk about their 401k.
Yeah.
So I would go and, promote the 401k and investing and what investments they should use and things like that. Sometimes we'd have enrollment meetings where the plan was just starting, and I'd spend a whole hour up there describing, how much you should invest, give tools and resources to say, okay, well, if you plan on retiring at this age and you're this age now and have this much saved, here's how much you should contribute, right? So I gave them all the tools. At the end of the hour, we handed out the forms. People made their contribution election. What did they choose? What the person next to them did.
They really compared notes?
Okay,
They're like, what are you saying?
Well, Bob's doing 4%, so that's probably what I should do too. So maybe I did a bad job, but that's definitely not the way to do it. You also hear people say they're maxing out their 401k when they get a 2% match, so they're contributing 4% overall. And then, I have nightmares about them turning 65 and realizing, maybe I should have done a little bit more.
Are there limits to how much I can put in my 401k? Sorry, this is a random question. But
it is $18,000 for this year unless you were 50 or older, and then it moves up to $26,000. And we've seen this at the Fool. I've been on the 401k committee here now for 7-8 years, and we've gradually moved up the match over that time. And we've also seen the average contribution limit go up because people are anchoring on whether the contribution is matched or not. Mm-hmm. Here's a fun fact, and by fun I mean sad. This is from the Kaiser Family Foundation about how much the average Medicare recipient has in terms of savings. Now, not everyone who receives Medicare is retired, but most people are. The average is $63,350. So this is someone who's probably retired, has $63,000 saved. This person should not have retired. They should have kept working. And now they might have had health problems, and I have a lot of sympathy for that. But there are people who are retiring just earlier than they should have. They didn't have much money, and it's more difficult to go back into the workforce after you've been out of it for a while.
Absolutely. And then when you start accepting that Social Security at 62, like you mentioned earlier, certainly that's something that can't be undone after that first year, and then you're kind of just stuck there. Right, exactly.
Right. And you've lowered it for forever.
Right.
Except in some situations.
Mm-hmm.